created the implication through her testimony that it was her decision to move out. So I believe we're allowed to cross-examine her on the fact that she was kicked out of the house at that point in time. And I don't know if the court wants me to address both points that I believe she's opened the door to, or if you want to argue each of them in turn.
Judge, I don't object to Mr. DeFore saying, were you kicked out of your mother's house? I didn't intend
Then that takes care of that.
I thought that was clear, but if he wants to ask that as one question and not go on and on about it, I don't object to it.
I don't intend to go on and on. I'm just going to ask that question. Right. Second point, Your Honor, is that the defendant, through her testimony as it relates to her sexual experiences with Alex, made the statement that she absolutely does not like to be in the, in her words, prone position. Your Honor, I believe that opens the door to a specific text exchange that she had with John Hansen in February of 2018, in which she sends a picture to Mr. Hansen by text of herself in the prone position, and then follows it up with, I want to do something similar, but I'd like you to tie me up for it.
Judge, first of all, I think that the state misunderstood. When she said she didn't like being prone, she was asked about prone at two different points. Earlier in the testimony, she was asked about being prone as in lying face down and having sex with Mr. Woodworth behind her. I didn't ask her if she liked it or didn't like it at that point. At a later part in the testimony, I was asking her specifically about BDSM. And I said, you've said something about prone. Now, was there a different kind of prone? I can't say those are my exact words, but I asked her, and she specifically referred to the fact that prone in this context meant that Mr. Woodworth was choking her. And that's when I said, did she dislike it? And she was referring to that, not to lying down on her or being prone as opposed to face up or in the missionary position, as it's called. So those are two very different things, and it does not open the door whatsoever, nor would I call the photograph prone at all that Mr. DeFore is referring to. I know what Mr. DeFore is referring to. I ask that it not be shown to the cameras, but if Mr. DeFore in his argument wants to tender it to the court, he should, because I don't know that the court has necessarily seen it. So I would say that this has not opened the door, and it's certainly, she talked about her sexual relationship with Alex. And things she didn't like regarding choking, and that really has nothing to do with the photograph that she sent to John Hansen.
Well, Your Honor, if it's that's not how she testified. She testified she didn't like to be in the prone position, period. That's what her testimony was. Secondly, if it's in regard to bondage situations, again, this was followed up with she wants to be tied up. I will show the court the picture of all that's not going to be viewed by any cameras.
You're talking about the second one?
I'm sorry?
You're talking about the second one?
Yes, Your Honor.
What about the first one?
I'm sorry?
What about the other picture on this page?
I wouldn't necessarily need to display that photo or publish that photo in any way, shape, or form.
So we're just talking about the one photo?
Right. The other thing is that Ms. McCandless is talking about a photo shoot, not about sex, with Mr. Hansen in that particular conversational thread. She's showing him several pictures, what I would call selfies, that she had taken of herself. They were talking about doing a photo shoot at a later time and doing photographs. There was no discussion of Alex Woodworth tying her up and whether she liked it or not liked it. She said she didn't like the knife and the choking. That's what she talked about.
All right. Well, my recollection was there was an area of questioning just prior to 11 a.m. today that went into BDSM and so forth, and whether there's had a safe word or not, and so on. And she took the role of submissive And there was talk about the chokehold. Again, these are things that the court allowed in because a defendant had said that these are things that made her fearful of the defendant and that she acted in the way that she acted. That was part of the constellation of thoughts that led to her actions. And she talked about how he demanded her to be in a vulnerable position. And a little bit later, then she said, her position in this position, it wasn't with my alignment. I think that was the words that she had used. So frankly, on that issue, in the court's opinion, given that the reason that it was allowed in, that it is fair on cross-examination for the state to go into that, and because it is inconsistent with, again, you can argue it, but I'm going to allow the state to go into that. Just the one picture, not anything else on there at this point.
Judge, I have some further things. Number one, I would argue that that picture not be shown to the jury.
No, Your Honor, it's got to be shown to the jury.
Nothing
I don't have a problem with not publishing it in the sense that it's going to be put up on the screen and displayed for everybody, but I would ask to be able to publish it to the jury privately. They can pass it around and publish it that way. I'm also, are we also able to get in then the text where she says, I want you to do something similar, but I'd like you to tie me up for it?
Well,
Okay.
That is more important than the picture, frankly.
Okay.
So that, and the picture can be published privately to the jury, but we're not going to put it up on the screen.
I haven't completed my argument about why the picture shouldn't be published.
Okay, go ahead.
This is 9060802's evidence. In other words, the state wants to cross-examine her because of this, because they're claiming that this goes to her truthfulness, that this prior occasion where she texted something to John Hanson shows that she's an untruthful person. And under 90608 sub 2, they cannot bring in extrinsic evidence. They can show her the picture and ask her questions about the picture, but to publish the picture is to bring in extrinsic evidence, and to talk about being tied up is extrinsic evidence of a collateral matter, and it's not permitted under the statute.
Well, I
court-
don't see it as extrinsic evidence in that sense, because it would be, and the state will be bound by the answer. In other words, you can't bring John Hanson back and all of that.
Isn't this in effect bringing John Hanson back by showing she sent a photo shoot of herself?
Frankly, he was never here, but
That's true.
I think that, to that extent, they can cross-examine on it, and they'll be able to cross-examine on all sorts of things. So, but you made your record, counsel. We're going to take, I'd like everybody back in here ready to go by 2:35. So you have 10 minutes to take care of restroom breaks. All right, we'll be in recess.
Excuse me, Mr. DePoy. I did object, and I'm not withdrawing my objection to the photograph and the conversation, but the date of that conversation has no relevancy whatsoever. That it has a date of February 10th of 2018. The fact that it occurred on the 10th has no relevancy to the actual picture being shown. If they want to say February of 2018, or cross out the number on the date, that's fine. But to show a date is to particularly show that this has occurred after the sex that she had with John Hanson. And there's no real reason to show it in a timeline of whether or not she sent this photograph and the photo shoot to John Hanson, or expressed that she wanted to have a photo shoot with him at a later date. There's no reason to have the exact date on that, and that could be very prejudicial in terms of the whole incident and other issues the court's not going to allow. So I'd ask that the date be redacted, or at least the 10th be redacted.
Well, Your Honor, we believe the date is certainly relevant because this is during the time period where she claimed that this was a type of activity she didn't want to engage in, because counsel made it clear that she was asking about if she didn't want to do those types of things during the time period of January, February of 2018. So the date is actually very relevant to it. And I think, nobody's arguing that she made a false claim of sexual assault. The court has specifically ordered that we can't, and we're not making that claim, so it's not prejudicial because it's not in some way showing that when she reported this, that it was somehow false. So I don't see how it's prejudicial to have the date, and it certainly has relevance.
Well, the defense objection is duly noted, preserved for the record. However, the court is going to allow state to use it with the date on it. And, okay, so let's bring the jury in.
All right. Ms. McCandless, you had gotten a new driver's license in around June of 2017, is that correct?
Yes,
Right. And on that driver's license, you listed your height as being 5'6",
I did.
and you put on there that your weight was about 130 pounds, correct?
Yes,
And you were weighed when you got into the hospital, correct?
I don't remember. No.
You may. And I'll just note that there's sort of an objection, there's an objection, and we'll make a record later, but I don't think the word objection was actually made, but I'll note it as an objection on the sidebar. Objection
So I'm
overruled.
showing you what has been marked for identification as Exhibit 699. This is your Instagram homepage, correct?
Yes,
All right, and it contains on it a phrase that says, "I am the fox, a tricky one," correct?
yes,
Your Honor, I move the admission of Exhibit 699 as published to the jury.
All right, and subject to the objection, Exhibit 699 will be received. It is 6.
Now, so we are clear, you met Jason Mengel during the summer of 2017, correct?
yes,
And very shortly after that, you became seriously romantically involved with Mr. Mengel, correct?
yes, we were boyfriend and girlfriend.
I'm sorry?
Yes, we became boyfriend and girlfriend.
And in fact, shortly after that, you moved in with Jason Mengel, correct?
Yes, that had happened.
And you had met Alex Woodworth around that same time period?
Yes,
And in the future, I'm just going to refer to him as Alex. I know there are two Alexes here, unless I specifically say Alex Zink. Whenever I'm talking about Alex, I'll be talking about Alex Woodworth, okay?
okay.
You became friends with Alex, right?
Yes,
Would talk with him frequently?
yes,
Would go for walks with Alex?
yes,
And around that same time period, you also met John Hanson, correct?
yes, through
And
Jason.
became friends with John Hanson as well, correct?
Yes,
Now, you moved in with Jason, what, sometime during August of 2017?
roughly end of summer, yes.
And when you moved in with Jason, the expectation was that you were going to be paying part of the rent, correct?
It was mentioned a few times. It wasn't really an expectation, just kind of like a, get me back when you can.
And for a time, you were paying part of the rent, correct?
Can you please restate that? I didn't hear you clearly.
Sure. For a time, you were paying part of the rent, correct?
No, I was helping with groceries.
All right. So you never paid any of the rent?
No,
You worked for a short time at Joann Fabrics?
yes, seasonal.
And after you lost that job, or after you were no longer working there, you weren't paying anything anymore, correct?
Hey, do you,
object to the phrase lost that job.
I didn't lose the job, no.
I'll rephrase. After you were no longer working at Joann Fabric, you were not paying anything towards your support at Jason Mengel's apartment, correct?
I was doing side jobs with my dad and things like that, so I would chip in with
Ma'am,
groceries.
question is,
Okay.
were you paying something or not? Period.
She was answering the question. Could she be permitted to please finish her answer?
No, she's not, and I'll ask that whatever she said be stricken because it was unresponsive to my question.
Okay, well, I'm going to sustain well, I'm not sure what I'm sustaining here. You may continue, Mr. Dufour, and I'm not going to allow her to elaborate. It's not responsive to the questioner's question.
My question is, after you were no longer working at Joann Fabrics, you weren't paying anything towards your stay at Jason Mengel's apartment, correct?
I was still helping with groceries and odd things.
Sometime in late September or early October, you found out you were pregnant,
Yes.
and you asked Jason to pay for that abortion, correct?
I didn't ask him. We both kind of agreed on it.
You never asked Jason if he was okay with your getting an abortion, did you?
It was a time when we didn't have much conversation.
So you never asked Jason if he was okay with you having the abortion, did you?
I did ask him, yes.
And you, by the way, when you went to the appointment where you confirmed you were pregnant,
Yes.
you asked immediately for information on an abortion?
No.
You asked at that same visit for information on an abortion, didn't you?
Yes.
And after you had the abortion, you began to get closer with Alex, correct?
That is correct.
And began to have a sexual relationship with Alex, correct?
Yes.
And while you started that sexual relationship with Alex, you were still living in Jason's apartment, correct?
Yes.
Still occasionally having sexual contact with Jason?
No.
There was absolutely no sexual contact between you and Jason between the time you started seeing Alex and the time that you stopped having sex with Alex?
The sexual contact wasn't intimate. Do you want me to elaborate on what I mean?
No, I'm not asking you to elaborate. I'm asking you, are you telling me that you had no sexual contact
No, I'm
between?
I'm going to object. Can we please approach the bench?
Objection overruled, and Mr. Dufour, you may go ahead. I don't know if you remember the question.
I'll repeat the question, ma'am. My question is it your testimony then that between the time you started having a sexual relationship with Alex and the time that you ended that there was absolutely no sexual contact between yourself and Jason Mengel?
No.
Okay, so in fact, there was sexual contact between yourself and Jason Mengel during the time that you were having the sexual relationship with Alex, correct?
Later in the relationship, yes.
Can I approach, Your Honor?
You may.
Ms. McCandless, I'm showing you what has been marked for identification as exhibit number 700. Can you tell me, does that appear to be a document containing a series of text messages between yourself and Alex Woodworth?
Yes.
All right. And you had deleted all of those text messages from your iPod, correct?
I had deleted the app, yes.
And that deleted all of those text messages, correct?
Yes, that would do that.
And you agree, why don't you, you talked in your direct about flaws. Can you turn to the second last page on that exhibit?
Yes.
All right. I'm going to ask you to the sixth text down is a text that came from Alex Woodworth that talks about flaws, correct?
Yes.
And you texted him back that flaws can be pretty interesting but hard to show, correct?
I think I might be mistaken on my page. Yes.
That was on October 29th of 2017, correct? Your Honor, I move the admission of Exhibit 700 at this point.
All right, any objection?
Judge,
And you need your microphone.
Yes, I'm sorry. Judge, I don't object to the admission of what's been testified to. I don't,
Okay, so if there's more, we'll address those one at a time, but Exhibit
Yes.
700 will be received as the text messages.
Can I approach again, Your Honor?
You may?
okay, wait, I'm sorry. Are you on a different exhibit?
Yes, this is Exhibit 701, it's the one I just gave you.
Are we moved on from this?
I'm done with that one for
Okay.
now. Thank you.
Yes.
Showing you what has been marked for identification as Exhibit 701. That is an additional exhibit that contains additional text messages between yourself and Alex Woodworth, correct?
Yes.
Actually, I'll read you that.
Thank you.
Specifically, you turn to the third page of that exhibit.
Yes.
All right. Referring on the third page, do you see a text that starts, "People would be jealous"?
Yes.
All right. And that text, in fact, is one from Alex to you, correct?
Yes.
All right. And on that one, it states, "People would be jealous, but wouldn't even know how much better your booty looks without any clothes," correct?
Yes.
Your response to that is, "OMG, I'm blushing," correct? I'm
Yes.
blushing, correct? And OMG is short for, "Oh my God"?
Yes.
All right. And then you further respond, quote, "Nobody knows how nice your cock is," correct?
Yes.
And Alex responds to you, "Oh, but you do. I love how much you love my cock inside of you," correct?
Yes.
And you respond, "I do. Let's be honest," correct?
Yes.
And the date on those text exchanges was January 25th of 2018, correct?
Correct.
Your Honor, I'd move, again, for purposes of the texts that have been discussed at this point, I'd move the admission of Exhibit 701.
All right, Ms. Fishney?
I don't object to the lines that have been read thus far.
All right, so that portion of
the
it,
exhibit being admitted.
okay, that portion of Exhibit 701 will be received.
And again, that second set of messages that we talked about in Exhibit 701, those were also deleted from your iPod, correct?
Yes, I had deleted the app, so in return that deleted everything, yes.
Now, you testified on direct that you did not like it when Alex had you in the prone position. Do you recall that?
Yes.
May I approach?
You may.
Mr. McCandless, I'm showing you what has been marked for identification as exhibit number 702. That is a photo of yourself that you texted to John Hanson, correct?
Yes.
All right. And on the second page of this is a text where you state, I want to do something similar, but I'd like you to tie me up for it, correct?
Yes.
And that's referring back to the photo that's on the first page of that exhibit, correct?
Yes, for my photo shoot.
Your Honor, I move the admission of Exhibit 702 as to publish it to the jury. I have copies for the jury.
All right, Exhibit 702 will be received, again, subject to the previous ruling, and objection preserved, can be published to the jury, but not published on the media.
Thank you, Judge. I'm also going to ask that that exhibit be sealed after the jury sees it.
We'll take that up at a later time.
All right, thank you.
I don't know that I can.
Ma'am, you also testified, I believe, on direct about something you called wax play. Do you recall that?
Yes.
All right. You never mentioned to Detective Prock when you talked to him that there was wax play or anything to do with candles, did you?
What interview are you speaking of?
Well, let's start with the interview on March 22nd or 23rd of 2018. You never mentioned in that interview to Detective Prock anything about wax play, did you?
No.
And in the interview on March 24th, the second interview you had with Detective Prock, you never told him anything about wax play in that interview, did you?
No.
And you also testified on direct that on one occasion that you could recall, Alex had cut your pants with a knife. Do you recall that?
Yes.
You never mentioned that to Detective Prock in your interview with him, did you?
No.
In fact, in your interview on March 24th,
Yeah, I'm going to object to that being a misstatement of the testimony. She says she recalls the interviews, but they seem like they were jumbled together.
I'm going to point her up to a specific page and
Oh, that's fine.
of the interview, counsel.
Sure.
You recall that interview, correct?
Bits and pieces, yes.
All right. May I approach, Your Honor?
You may.
In that interview, you were being asked about possibly being sexually assaulted, and on page 1636, isn't it true that you said, but I think I might have because of where the cuts are and stuff, because I don't know why somebody would cut my pants or anything, correct?
Yes.
That was your answer, correct?
Yes.
But you never told Detective Prock that the defendant had previously cut your clothes while you were that Alex had previously cut your clothes while you were with him, correct?
Correct.
You never told Detective Prock that Alex had actually strangled you previously, did you?
No.
In fact, all you said was that he put his arm by your neck at one point in time and that made you uncomfortable, correct?
Yes.
The relationship with Alex that you had continued until February 24th of 2018?
Around then, yes.
All right. And that's the date you sent a text to Alex and told him that you were no longer wanting to be involved with him, correct?
Yes.
All right. You told him that he never knew you, correct?
I don't exactly remember the text, no.
You told him that he should forget you, correct?
I could have said that, yes.
And you told him that you never knew him, correct?
Yet again, I could have said that, yes. I don't exactly remember the text message.
And you knew that those messages would be very hurtful to Alex, didn't you?
Yes.
And after the text of February 24th of 2018, Alex never initiated another contact with you, did he?
We passed each other at the coffee shop, but it was very brief interactions and we had stopped texting.
He never initiated a contact with you, did he?
No.
And sometime in February, you began this flirtation with John Hanson? Or was it earlier than that?
Yes.
It was earlier than
No, it was in that time range.
Okay. And you eventually had 2 sexual encounters with Mr. Hanson?
Yes, I had.
And the one was in John Hanson's apartment, correct?
Yes.
And the second one was in the apartment that you shared with Jason Mengel, correct?
Yes.
And in fact, that one was on Jason's bed, correct?
Yes, that was on our bed.
All right. And hanging above that bed was the picture that you gave to Max Martinson on March 22nd of 2018, correct?
Yes.
So you did not paint that picture for Max Martinson, correct?
No, not specifically.
I have Exhibit 176, please. Thank you. May I approach, Your Honor?
You may.
Page 4.
Is that an admitted exhibit? Is that already in?
What's that?
Mr. DeFore?
Okay.
I don't have the exhibits memorized, I will take
It's the interview of March 23rd.
Okay, thank you.
All right. On page 4 of here, you said to Detective Prock on March 23rd, so I went and made sure all the stuff was in the trunk and the painting because I painted something for Max, a friend, correct?
Yes, I had said that.
And the painting you were referring to is in fact the one that had been above the bed in the apartment you shared with Jason Mengel, correct?
Yes.
Because that's the painting you gave to Max Martinson on March 22nd, 2018, correct?
Correct.
A painting that reminded you of the sexual encounter you had with John Hanson, correct?
It didn't remind me of it, but it was there when it did happen.
And it reminded Jason of that sexual encounter, correct?
It reminded him, yes.
Okay. So it's something that was standing in the way of your continued relationship with Jason, correct?
No, I still loved my painting.
During the period from October of 2017 to the time that you moved out in early February of 2018, Jason Mengel was still paying all the rent for that apartment, or at least his portion of the rent for that apartment?
Yes.
In fact, he was paying 2/3 of the rent, and Alex Zink was paying 1/3, correct?
I don't know exactly what their deal was.
Jason was paying for the vast majority of the food that you would consume in the apartment?
No.
He was paying for the utilities for the apartment?
That was split between them, yes.
And this allowed you weren't working at that from the time you left Joanne Fabrics, except for an odd job here and there?
Yes.
Right. It allowed you to work on your art?
Yes.
It allowed you to spend a lot of time at races with friends?
Yes.
And then you moved out in early February of 2018, correct?
Correct.
Right. And you sent a text message to Jason Mengel to basically break up with him, correct?
Correct.
You stayed some of the time with Alex Woodworth?
I didn't stay at his house, like live in, no.
All right. You didn't stay any times overnight at his house?
And before that, yes, I stayed overnight at his
Okay.
house. I wasn't living there though, no.
So you didn't stay overnight at Alex's after you broke up with Jason Mengel? Is that what your testimony is?
Maybe a night, but yes.
So you did stay over?
Yes, I had it confused as if you were saying if I had been living there.
And then you moved back to Stanley, Wisconsin?
Yes,
And you were first staying with your mother,
yes.
right? And then you got into this fight, correct?
Yes, we had an argument, yes.
And your mom kicked you out of the house, correct?
Yes, she kind of gave me an ultimatum, either leave Jason or you have to get out, so
She kicked you out of the house, correct?
I guess you could say that.
And then you moved in with your dad.
Yes,
At that point in time, though, it would be fair to say you would prefer to be in the Eau Claire area, correct?
yes,
Wanted to still be with Jason at that point in time, correct?
yes, I was exploring the idea of continuing our relationship.
You wanted to still be with Jason, correct?
Yes,
And spent a night or two with Jason in a hotel room, correct?
correct.
Despite all the things that had happened, you still love Jason, correct?
Are you saying now?
No, at that time.
Yes.
In February and March of 2018.
Of course, of course.
And you referred to it, I believe, in your journal, Silence Broken, as being an ancient love, correct?
Correct.
And you were continuing to try to repair that relationship, correct?
Yes, we were working on things.
I have Exhibit 4.
You may.
Ms. McCandless, I'm going to show you what has been previously marked and admitted as Exhibit 420, which was identified as a communication timeline, and you were present when Ms. Wright testified how this was created. Do you recall that?
Yes.
All right, and this is essentially a listing of all your Instagram messages between yourself and various individuals during the relevant time period. Do you recall that?
Yes.
All right. I'm starting on what is marked as DOJ 005088. Does that start with a communication between yourself and Jason Mengel on March 11th of 2018?
Yes.
All right. I'm going to leave that with you,
Okay.
and I'm going to pull it up here a second, and I'm going to go through some of this, and I want you to tell me if I'm reading them accurately, okay?
Okay.
All right. So here I am. The top of page 5088 that you see there
Yes.
is an Instagram to you from Jason Mengel, correct?
Correct.
And it's talking about basically a sexual encounter that the two of you had, correct?
Correct.
All right. And he states it was nice going slow until you told me faster, and your warmth and your smell, it all sticks with me, correct?
Correct.
Right. And then he continues on kissing and kissing, feeling like I could cry and smile at the same time, scared of how on fire it felt to kiss you, correct?
Correct.
All right. Now let's skip down a little bit. Turn to what would be 5090.
Yes.
And towards the bottom, the third from the top, or third from the bottom, I should say, is a message from Jason Mengel to you, stating that I was always so aroused by you,
Correct.
correct?
Correct.
And then comes the next one, again from Jason, is part of the reason, like I said, I slept on the couch to prevent myself from the urge and possibly doing something, correct?
Correct.
Right, and then you reply, you know that if we sat down and had a conversation about the urges and what would happen if we both decided to go with them, I would have told you a lot about what was on my mind, correct?
Correct.
Right. And then going to the next page, you continue, I would have opened up about the ideas I wanted to explore, correct?
Correct.
And if you move to page 5093, it'd be the
Did you say 5093?
5093, 5093. Be the fifth one down is a message from Jason indicating I would have been proud to be your husband, correct?
Correct.
And you respond, I know, correct?
Correct.
And then he responds, and raise your kiddos, correct?
Correct.
And then you respond, you know your children will be raised so well, correct?
Correct.
And continue on, and that's a fact, correct?
Correct.
And then continue on, I'm weirdly good at mothering, correct?
Correct.
If you go to 5094, the very last text on that page, you state, or Instagram message, I should say.
The bench, please.
All right, you may proceed.
That text on the bottom, I'm not going to read the exact quote, but essentially, you indicate that you would be portraying the pregnancy you had if you ever tried to have children with anyone else, correct?
You said portraying. Did you mean betraying?
Betraying, yes.
Yes.
And you continue on with the next page, top of it, it's a deep feeling, and that's just it, correct?
Correct.
And then you say, another one from you, can't shake it and feel dumb and silly about it, correct?
Correct.
And then you say, hurts to know I'll never be able to have a child, but I just know what would feel right to me, and that's all, correct?
Correct.
And continue on, I feel so strongly when I feel, and it scares me a lot of the time, correct?
Correct.
And continue on, I'm passionate in love, and I'm hate, and then, correct? And I assume
Correct.
hate was not what you meant there, right?
Yes.
All right. And you correct it in the next one to in, correct?
Correct.
All right. And then next one is I don't know, correct?
Correct.
And then Jason replies, me either as, correct?
Correct.
And you state, you state next, I'm sorry, correct?
Correct.
And Jason then replies, I don't want kids with anyone but you, correct?
Correct.
And you state, that's how I feel also, correct?
Correct.
It just feels wrong, correct?
Correct.
Mr. DeFore,
I'm not going to ask the next,
okay.
going to go on. And on the next page, which would be 5096, the second text down, or the second Instagram message down is, it's not because how cute and the wonderful genetics we pass on, it's, and then you continue, more emotional and ancient, correct?
Correct.
All right, I think that's it for that particular exhibit, thank you. I'll take that back for now. Actually, no, why don't you keep that? So that was on, keep that for now. That was on March 11th, correct? Those Instagram messages we were just
Yes.
talking about? All right. Now, a short time later, on or about March 19th, you got a call from Jason, correct?
Correct.
All right, and in that phone call, he told you that Jenna Van de Zand had given him some additional details about your relationship with Alex Woodworth, correct?
Yes.
And in fact, he told you that Jenna had told him about an incident where you were in the shower with Alex, correct? Not introducing it.
Overruled. Go ahead.
Yes.
All right, and you came out of the bathroom in a towel, correct?
Okay, now I'm going to approach it.
Okay.
I don't object to that last question.
Okay, you may continue.
Actually, no, I do object. If you're going to ask her if she said something, that's fine. I object to hearsay if it's something else.
Well, I'm again not introducing the matter for the truth of the matter asserted, Your Honor, but rather to show the knowledge that there is between her and Jason Mengel as of March 19th of 2018.
No, I'm going to object to hearsay. And if it's not for the truth of the matter, it's not got any relevancy to this. It's just gossip.
Well, I guess I'm not exactly
Can we
sure what it is
approach
you
that? I'll
object to.
explain.
No, I think, is this about the same thing we had the sidebar about?
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, and is this,
I've got, yes, two more questions.
okay, go ahead. Go ahead, Mr. DeFore.
All right. So Jenna told Jason, and then he told you that you would come out of the shower with just a towel on, correct?
From what I remember, yes.
All right. And then the last part of that conversation that Jenna had with, Jenna Van de Zand had with Jason Mengel was that Jenna told Jason that you had told Matt Schreiner that you had just broken up with Jason, and isn't that great, correct?
I don't remember exactly, no, what I had said to Matt or if I talked to him.
I'm not asking you what you said to Matt Schreiner on,
Okay.
when you, in that thing, I'm asking you, isn't it correct that Jason told you that Jenna told him that you had told that to Matt Schreiner, correct?
Correct, yes.
Thank you. After telling you about that, Jason hung up, correct?
Yes.
All right. And then you called Jenna Van de Zand, correct?
Yes.
And told her she had to fix this, correct?
I don't believe those are my exact words, but I was just kind of like, what's going on?
You wanted her to clear it up with Jason, correct?
And not exactly, I wouldn't say I wanted her to clear it up with him. He knew everything that had happened already. It's just, I was like,
So,
can you talk to him about this? He's angry and frustrated.
so you wanted her to talk to him about it, correct?
Yes.
All right. And then either on the 20th or the 21st, Jason gave you the letter that Jenna Van de Zand had sent, correct?
I don't know the exact date, but at some point he had given me the letter.
And in that letter, you read the letter, correct?
Yes, I read it.
And Jenna essentially said she was washing her hands of the situation, correct?
Yes.
Can you turn to, you still have Exhibit 420 up there?
That is correct.
Can you turn to, it's towards the end, and unfortunately my copy here doesn't have the DOJ page numbers on it, but it would be, I believe, 5361.
I have that page pulled up, yes.
All right, and is the top message on there one from Jason to you that says he said this isn't usual Jason breakup behavior?
Yes.
All right, great. This Instagram exchange appears to be around 17:07, which would be around 5:07 PM on March 21st.
Yes, early in the morning.
All right. And
Wait a minute, I'm confused. Is this UTC or is this Wisconsin?
this is Wisconsin time. This exhibit converted everything to Wisconsin time.
Okay, so just so it's clear to me, I'm sorry, Counsel, 17, you said 17:07?
Yes, which would be 5:07.
Oh, in the evening? Is
Correct.
that what you're referring to?
Correct.
Okay, I'm sorry. Okay.
All right. And let's go towards the bottom. Jason sends a text to you, it's the second last one on there. Says, "I'm worried right now, if I sleep, what will happen?" Correct?
Correct.
And continues, "What will I dream?" Correct?
Correct.
And continues on, going on 4 months of this restless sleeping on a couch, correct?
Correct.
And the next text is, "And the new trauma really draining my hope," correct?
Correct.
And what he's referring to there by the new trauma is the information he got from Jenna Van de Zandt, correct?
I believe so, yes.
All right. And then you respond, "If you let yourself only think of negative things before you sleep, you let yourself lose," correct?
Correct.
And you state you become nothing, correct?
Correct.
And he responds, "I can give hope," correct?
Correct.
But then continues on, "But I feel like I lost mine," correct?
Correct.
And continues on, "I'll faking it till it returns," correct?
Correct.
And you respond, "Yes, it's hard to try and stop thoughts, but it's not hard to replace them in positive ways, and the more you do it, the better it will get," correct?
Correct.
And continue on, "Sorry if I seem slightly distracted. I'm filling out an application also," correct?
Correct.
And then Jason replies, "I was drinking enough to forget and see her," correct?
Correct.
Literally, it continues on, "Literally, how sad is that," correct?
Correct.
And you respond, "I'm right here," correct?
Correct.
And continue on, "Each time you say that, you throw her away," correct?
Correct.
And continue on and push her further and further down, correct?
Correct.
And continue on, "That's how I feel," correct?
Correct.
And then Jason responds, "You know what I mean," correct?
Correct.
And then continues, "The idea of you,"
Correct.
"the one," correct?
Correct.
"The girl to prove me wrong," correct?
Correct.
"Everything I never knew I always wanted," correct?
Correct.
And you respond, "Yes, but I'm not an idea. She never was. I am a human. She's alive, fighting harder than," correct?
Correct.
"Just know that and respect her," correct?
Correct.
And then Jason responds, "I can," correct?
Correct.
And also continues on, "But I also can't hold my tongue. Now speaking thoughts isn't going to help either of us," correct?
Correct.
And continues, "Kind of what got us in this situation," correct?
Correct. I think he might have meant not speaking.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes.
And we're going to continue down a little bit. Going to, it should be 5365 at the bottom. Are you there?
Yes,
The second last message is one from Jason indicating, do you want me to call, correct?
correct.
And now we're at about 1853, which would be about 6:53 PM.
Yes,
All right. And you respond, yeah, please, correct?
that is correct.
And then continuing to the next page, about halfway down, right after it indicates that Journal 2 and Journal 1 were last updated, do you see those?
Yes,
All right, it says, there was a message from Jason indicating was nice talking, correct?
that is correct.
And you say very nice, correct?
That is correct.
And he then states, hope you feel a little better, correct?
Correct.
And you respond, I do, I hope you also, correct?
Correct.
And you state, it's nice to hear a voice that makes me calm, correct?
Correct.
And Jason then responds, all things considered, I miss your voice, correct?
That is correct, yes.
And you respond, well, you know it's the same for me, correct?
Correct.
And then skipping a couple, it says, truly it was nice talking, let's keep it up, correct?
Correct.
And he replies, we should try, correct?
Correct.
And then states, with you working, it's going to be less often, correct?
Correct.
And he says, and same here, hopefully, correct?
Correct.
And you then respond, good days, bad days, I'm happy to talk. Oh, don't worry, plenty of time between work and sleep to talk with the jobs I'll be having, and I'll happily talk, correct?
Correct.
And continue on, don't forget I also have the phone next to me at night. Here, if late night you really need to call, correct?
Correct.
And Jason responds, good to know, correct?
Yes, that is correct.
And then asks you what time you're thinking of coming Wednesday, correct?
Correct.
All right, and this is an Instagram message that was on March 21st of 2018, correct?
That is correct.
All right, which would have been a Wednesday, correct?
Yes.
All right, because we know March 22nd was a Thursday, correct?
Correct.
So this is referring to the next week, meaning March 28th, correct?
Yes.
All right. And continues on, and do you have to work that night, correct?
Correct.
And continues on, and do I need anything prepared, correct?
Correct.
And then you respond, well, the appointment was for at 1, and yes, I work that night at 9:45, 10 PM, correct?
Correct.
And then state, I would just bring your IDs and stuff, correct?
Correct.